as an opposition group
I think it's very cosmetic, and it's not only vague, but it adds to the sense of frustration and the sense that nothing is changing. And again, it's exactly like the Mubarak days. Like the Mubarak days, they used to bring in some ministers nobody knew anything about, and you don't know this minister came in, this minister came out. You don't know why they were changed. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely not up to our expectations. The country is very polarized right now. The country is very divided. You needed a prime minister figure to bring people together. You needed ministers who would give us confidence as Egyptians that they're capable of handling the portfolios that they're dealing with, particularly when it comes to security and when it comes to the economy. I'm not seeing this, unfortunately, so I'm not optimistic.
Right.
It's not a sign that's giving me hope that we're going to get out of this current state of polarization, unfortunately.
But you say you need a prime minister who's going to bring the people together. What is it about
the president?
And the president. But let's start with the prime minister. But what is it about the prime minister that you find so polarizing to
what's polarizing is picking up a figure like Hisham Kandil, whom almost everybody agrees that he doesn't have the capability to do the job. He didn't even have the economic background. If you remember, Sarah, when he came in as a prime minister, almost nobody knew him. You know, he's not the national figure that President Morsi promised us when he was running for president, and he doesn't have any economic experience that we know of that can make him capable of handling the situation. And the polarization is coming from the president and his Muslim Brotherhood group. They're the ones, or very clearly right now, and especially after the appointment of Mr. Darag as the Minister of Planning and International Cooperation, that their main concern is to have key Muslim Brotherhood figures in key positions to make sure that they control the country further, and that we call Ikhwanization, or Ikhwanization of the state. Brotherhoodization. Right. I didn't know we made it like this in English too.
Did.
So brotherhoodization, you know, it's a tough word, and basically to make sure that they're going to win the next elections. You know, that's their kind of very narrow attitude. They don't want to bring the country back to stability, and as opposition, nobody can blame us when we refuse to cooperate with a president who's adopting such an attitude and proving again and again, unfortunately, very unfortunately, that he's a president only for the Muslim Brotherhood group and not a president for all Egyptians. That's not what I wanted to see from my president after so many, you know, really tiring battles in the streets and, like, you know, exchange of violence. And I wanted something to send people a sign of hope, but right now I don't see any sign of hope coming from the
Mr. Dawood, does this mean that you, as an opposition group, as a spokesman for the National Salvation Front, that you will not be participating in the upcoming elections,
I think that will be an important factor. I mean, first of all, Ahmad, you know, let me allow to say that we don't have a date set yet for elections. I don't want to announce a firm position right now, but one of our demands in order to get into elections was to have a neutral cabinet, was to have a neutral ministers in the ministries that are related to elections, such as as I said, the information ministry, such as the local development ministry, even the Ministry of Education. When you think about it, you have a Muslim Brotherhood minister who's in the Ministry of Education, and it's the teachers who go help the judges in supervising the elections. So for me, I need those people to be neutral, and I won't feel that if the minister is from the Muslim Brotherhood. The Minister of Transportation is Muslim Brotherhood, and me and you know, in Egypt, you know, transportation is very important in busing people during election day. They might use, I mean, maybe some people say you're exaggerating, but okay, calm my fears. You know, I don't want public transportation to be used to move Muslim Brotherhood supporters to the polling stations.
Right.
Even the Minister of Supply, a lot of people are praising him and saying he's a wonderful guy, lots of energy. But again, when I read in news reports, and even one of his key assistants resigned because the ministry has been signing contracts with companies owned by the Muslim Brotherhood and delivering bread in plastic bags with the name of Al-Hurriya and Adala, Freedom and Justice Party, to the people. So of course I have to be worried. I mean, we know how in some poor neighborhoods such commodities such as bread, cooking oil, stuff like sugar, you know, things like this are used to kind of attract people to vote for a certain political party. My NSF group do not have a tradition or do not have a reputation in making use of those incidents. It's the Muslim Brotherhood who are very famous about it. So that's why I'm saying...
So what are your counter strategies to be countering this technique by the Muslim Brotherhood and the Freedom and Justice Party?
Yes, we're thinking of several options. One of our first options, to be honest, tomorrow we're having a meeting, I mean Wednesday, or like we're having a meeting very soon in order to discuss possibly forming a shadow government. We want to send the Egyptian people a sign of hope. We want to tell them, don't worry about those ministers who, unfortunately, in my opinion, don't have the capability or the efficiency to carry out the job. We have some people who are capable. We have some people who have a lot of experience with some concrete proposals that put the interest of the nation into consideration and not just the interest of the Muslim Brotherhood group.
Yes.
We're also thinking of forming a shadow parliament, because we're getting ready, possibly, not to take part in the upcoming elections. We're not, but the most important thing, Ahmad, we're not going to deceive the Egyptian people. If we see an unfair Egyptian election law, we're going to tell the people this election law is full of loopholes. We're not going to sort of provide a decoration for the present Muslim Brotherhood government. We're not going to support ministers who are incapable of doing the job. So we want to look seriously right now into a shadow government and a shadow cabinet to give hope to the Egyptian people.
I think, touching on what Ahmed just said, that still doesn't put you on par with the Muslim Brotherhood in terms of reaching out to a certain level of a voter, perhaps, or a certain level of people, and trying to I mean, the Muslim Brotherhood does have its hands on a certain segment with, obviously, you know, reaching out to them, the poorer levels of society, the poorer strata, getting in touch with them and reaching out to them and explaining to them why, in their own way, they are the people that they should be voting for. The National Salvation Front has yet to do that. Do you think that that's an approach that you need to start looking at, reaching out to the average Egyptian and, you know, actually
we need to reach out to the average Egyptians, the people that you're mentioning, because we are definitely have a lot of shortcomings on that level. But I want to tell you, at the same time, we're not necessarily going to take part of elections if we feel that the result is going to be known in advance. And that's what we did before in February. We told the president, we told the Muslim Brotherhood group, guys, you're presenting basically an unconstitutional election law, and we proved to be right, Sarah. When the law went to the court supported our point of view on this. And if we feel that the cabinet ministers are going to be abused in order to serve the Muslim Brotherhood agenda, we don't want to repeat the Mubarak scenario before. If you remember, the opposition parties, many of them who now belong to the NSF, when they felt that the Mubarak regime was determined on rigging the previous elections, we decided not to take part. And we made a shadow parliament at that time, and the president, the former president, ousted President Mubarak, he made fun of it. He ridiculed this shadow parliament, and he said, let them have fun. And only 2 months later, we saw a popular revolution against President Mubarak. So if we don't feel that after a great revolution like we had 2 years ago, we're going to have some serious parliament elections which results are not known before. And mind you, also, we're not going to accept what the Muslim Brotherhood used to accept before. Under Mubarak, the former regime used to suppress the Muslim Brotherhood people, and still they would make deals with them.
Right.
They would go with the state security and say, okay, fine, we put you in prison, we send you to military trials, but you're going to have 80 parliament seats. Unfortunately, the Muslim Brotherhood apparently cannot get rid of the Mubarak era politics, and they might come to us, and they did actually that, approached us, okay, just take part in elections, we're going to give you 100 seats, 110 seats, 120 seats. No, we are not going to take part in this process, because we want the change after the revolution to be genuine. We don't want a state only for the Muslim Brotherhood. We want a state, again, for all Egyptians, for women, for young people, for Christians, for Muslims, for people to feel a real change in their life and not to follow the same tactics like the previous regime, which is worse, making it worse right now, is that we're in a very bad position and we worry about our country and we want to go back on the right track. So, I mean, unfortunately, this cabinet reshuffle is not getting us out of the current deadlock.
Are we going to see an official statement from the front on the reshuffle?
I mean, to be honest with you, I was discussing it. We don't think that it's worth issuing a statement because we don't see any change, very honestly, but we are having a meeting, and I'm sure you're going to hear more from us on this, but in reality, this is very limited. It's like the music chairs. We don't see any change, and we don't understand, as I told you, why these people are left and why these people are coming. We know for sure that the ministers which we wanted to see out of this cabinet are still there. Prime Minister Kandil, the Interior Minister, the Information Minister, several other key ministers who are only there because they are members of the Muslim Brotherhood.
But Mr. Khaled, we've heard a lot of criticism to the members of the previous cabinet and the newly appointed cabinet.
I mean,
so who's doing well as a minister in the cabinet of Dr. Hisham Kandil, in your own opinion?
We need a totally new cabinet. We need fresh blood. We need fresh ideas. We need people who are being chosen to their positions because of their capability and their experience and their ability to contribute. to whatever portfolio that they're responsible for. We don't feel we have this kind of spirit when the president gets to form the new cabinet or the cabinet, you know. Starting with the choice of Prime Minister Qandil himself. It's not that, you know, again, and I want to remind you, because I was personally involved in this, shortly before the president was about to be named as president, just a few days, I think, he was announced president maybe on the 25th or the 26th of June, and like 2 days before, several national figures who took part in the revolution against Mubarak, they went to President Morsi. And if you remember, at that time there was a lot of talk who's going to be the president, Shafiq or Morsi or Shafiq, and we were kept on our toes until the last minute. And there we got an agreement from him that he, again, is going to appoint a national figure who's capable to become prime minister, to have 4 deputy presidents. He promised us a woman, a Copt, a young person to become a deputy president. Right now in the new constitution, there is no deputy president at all. You know, so it's like we also promised us to reshuffle the Constituent Assembly that was drafting the Constitution. He promised us many things that would bring the Egyptian people together. The main problem, Ahmed, is that the president, the way he's been conducting his position, is only being biased to one political group. We see the president getting very angry when the headquarters of the Muslim Brotherhood is being attacked in the Muqattam, but he doesn't get very angry when other Egyptians who belong to our group get attacked in front of the presidential palace, get arrested by police. We don't see his prosecutor general, the one that he's appointed, moving so steadfast to issue arrest orders to the Muslim Brotherhood militias when they attack peaceful protesters, but we see the vice versa happening. So unfortunately, this style of choosing the cabinet, the way the ministers are being picked up, actually if you look at it, the number of ministers who said, no, sorry, we cannot take part in this government because it's not real government. So this is really what we wanted. We wanted a cabinet, we want a president, unfortunately, to unite Egyptians and to stop this state of polarization. It's not good for the country. It's not because I'm biased to my group.
No, definitely not. But let's say, you know, we take the presidential standpoint. We've changed the financial portfolios, and that is, you know, we're in deep waters in that particular.
Who's the new Minister of Finance? I mean, he's an Azhar University professor. Before I came here to record with you, he's another university professor whom we haven't heard of before on the, like in the group of people who might be even nominated to fill the finance ministry. I mentioned Mr. Amr Darag, Dr. Amr Darag. He's an engineering professor. I mean, he has nothing to do with international cooperation at all. And I don't know why he was removed. I don't know who is the new Minister of Petroleum Products. You know, he's just someone who came from I don't know where, you know what I mean? The same applies to the other ministries. It's not like, this is not the best, the best like sort of minds in Egypt. These are not the best capabilities. There are definitely far more capable people who are unwilling to take part in this cabinet because they feel that the president's main concern is to further tighten the control of the Muslim Brotherhood group on the country, on its institutions, and not the priority right now is not for the economy, not for the security, but for the brotherhoodization of the state.
Where do we go from here? I mean, you're seeing now a new cabinet that's not pleasing to the opposition, and indeed some Islamist currents might actually come up and say, you know, we're not happy about what's happening here. Where do we go from here? Is the polarization going to continue? What needs to be done, you know, perhaps from the presidential standpoint, you know, they've done enough to actually
I don't think they have done enough at all.
Appease the opposition, but then you're saying that that's not enough. So where do we move from here?
I don't think they wanted to appease the opposition. I don't think this was on their mind. Actually,
but it could be an argument that could be
the way they're doing it right now is that like as if they aim to provoke the opposition. Because when I see the same Prime Minister, the same Interior Minister, the same Information Minister, the same Minister of Local Development who's a member of the Guidance Office, this is not appeasing. This is actually just sending us the message that we don't care about what the opposition says, which is again the same policy like the Mubarak days. Mubarak, everybody used to criticize, and then the president does whatever he wants at the end. We all complain about the brutality or the heavy-handed policy of the Interior Minister, and the Interior Minister continues to be in place. So it's unfortunately we're not the ones. Again, you know, if you look like someone like Dr. Mohammed Al-Baradei, who was the head of Al-Dastur party, and despite all the pressure that's on us, we continue to outreach to the president. We tell him, let's sit and talk, but let's sit and talk seriously about with a serious agenda. Whom are we going to pick up as a prime minister? Who are the ministers that we need to change? Let's write an election law together, because it's not your country alone, it's the country of all Egyptians, and we have the right to work together.
Yes, Dr. Khaled Dawood, the spokesman of the National Salvation Front, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, it's always a pleasure. Thanks, Ahmed. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, a quick break, and then we'll be back with our next segment. Do stay with us.
Egypt and Turkey signed a number of agreements regarding the tourism industry between both countries in the presence of the Turkish ambassador and the chairman of the Egyptian Tourism Federation. The memorandum of understanding was signed in the Egyptian Red Sea region of Al-Ghona in Hurghada.
Tonight we have signed a memorandum of understanding with the